Could you help me find high quality residential contractors in exchange for me providing you a secondary cash flow? If so, or if you're interested, please let me know. Next are some details of why I'm asking.
Hi, I'm J.R. Hun. Less than 3 years ago, I started a business that has recently achieved a new level of success as of mid 2018. The source of profit is finder's fees from builders or other related businesses within the remodeling and construction field, such as architects and storm damage specialists. Briefly, I provide them leads for no upfront costs with an agreement to receive a commission or finder's fee after the prospect hires that contractor. If you could be interested in participating in this growing business, even just with a small amount of your time, then I would like for you to take a few minutes to learn a bit more about how you might wish to help. Next, I will emphasize early in this presentation that there is a significant amount of profit available for sharing with prospective partners or affiliates like yourself. And that's all due to the fact that my operating expenses are extremely moderate. In the background, you can see this is the actual home office where I do it all by phone, by email, and so on. Further, it's in addition to the fact that it's quite profitable and I have a low overhead, and related to that, it's extremely easy and inexpensive to expand the business in terms of uh, expanding into new service areas as well as into new niches, such as seismic retrofitting or construction of RV garages or storm damage repairs. I know this because I have repeatedly done it. However, the ease of rapidly expanding the business is also a source of a challenge. The primary constraints currently on the expansion of the business are that I've been operating with exactly one full-time worker. And you guessed it, that's me. Um, in particular, because I have a reliable system for generating numerous leads all over the U.S., I lack the time to efficiently recruit well-qualified contractors and design build firms. So in a single day, if I generate several leads in a variety of places where I do not already have at least one relevant service provider in whom I am confident, then it can be difficult to promptly serve all of those homeowners and respond to all of those requests in a timely manner, promptly. In many cases, it is reasonably effective for me to reduce the urgent workload by simply informing property owners that it will be next week before the estimator will be contacting you to schedule a meeting. However, if I have that same issue day after day and week after week, that is not ideal. Over the years, I've also chosen to phase out some of the contractors that I welcomed into my network in prior years. When I was using BuildZoom or other less, uh, when I was using, uh, basically when I was looking for who would answer the phone and say yes, and I was reasonably comfortable with. I wasn't doing a lot of screening early on. I didn't know how. I didn't have the experience then that I do now as far as how to quickly determine if somebody's a good match. Um, Not that I'm perfect, but I'm better than I was when I started. So over the years, I've chosen to um, phase out some of the contractors that I welcomed into my network in prior years as I begin to find contractors in whatever area that are more appealing to me in whatever locations. Um, while I may be generating a steady flow of leads in a particular area, I really would rather be finding a new contractor like through NAHB or NARI instead of um, dumping excellent leads or decent leads at all to a out to a contractor that may not be the best fit for my system, and I'm already clear that I'm not confident in them in some cases. Um, Several of my contractors, I think five, have directly referred me to other builders in other states that they expect to be a good fit. Also, design specialists sometimes refer me to local builders and vice versa. So I've got lots of contractors in my network. It's pretty easy really to um, offer people to offer to people to provide them leads in exchange for a finder's fee if they get hired. Like lots of folks, lots of folks say I'm pretty busy, um, but lots of folks say yes. Even some of them that say I'm pretty busy. So my thoughts are part of why I'm making this presentation. My thoughts are that someone who has been in the construction industry already, or at least has been a homeowner who's done remodeling, I think that would be ideal. They have some expertise, and if they're close to retiring or maybe already retired, so they have a little extra time, maybe they want to make some extra money off of some of their time or their network of people they already know. Someone like that, if they're well connected within the industry in particular, that would be an ideal recruiting associate, hypothetically. Obviously, uh, somebody has to, there's, the ideal candidate is one who actually produces good results. But the ideal prospect might be somebody who's, got some time that it does, honestly, the retiring thing, just if somebody's been in the field for quite a while and they have some free time, I don't, the fact that if somebody's retired or not is not of great interest or concern to me either way. But um, so that's basically, let's see. Oh no, there's a little more as a background on my process. Each time that I receive a new inquiry from a property owner, which arrive either as a phone call or by email, my ideal when I receive that new inquiry is to briefly screen them, often with a few short emails, to obtain a better sense of their priorities and the criteria that they plan to use to make a decision of who to hire. If they tell me right then and there that they're definitely going to get multiple bids, I will, in many cases, attempt to connect them with multiple contractors in their area. Um, if they tell me that they're definitely looking for a low price, then I let the contractors know that. And in several areas, I know already the ones that tend to be more expensive and the ones that tend to be less expensive. And I'm happy to attempt to make the match efficient, um, whether it's for $100,000 project or whatever size project. Typically, the ones where people are most picky about price are the small ones, and on the whole, I'm more interested in the big ones than the small ones. But I've definitely generated a lot of small ones as well over the years. In fact, in the early years, that's really the majority of the leads that I got were for jobs under 20,000. In fact, in the first year, off the top of my head, I don't think I targeted anything. You know, it's been a gradual process. I haven't done it full time for 3 years. It's become more full time as time's gone on. Anyway, let's see. So I want to, take a little time to screen the individual leads, ideally, and place them or connect them with one or more contractors that are legitimately a good fit for them, whether they need to talk to somebody who's a designer or an estimator, when I said designer, like an architect, or whether they need to talk, I know from their second story addition situation, they are going to need to talk to a engineer or a general contractor, a certain kind of, specialist, somebody familiar with that kind of work. So I'm attempting to find out what's a good match for that homeowner or property owner. And then, I talk to the contractors and I ask them and I tell them, here's what I've got, here's what they're interested in, here's what I know so far. Is this a maybe? Is this a yes? Is this a no? As far as a match. So in any given week, I receive leads that I'm quickly clear are unusually appealing or attractive to me, unusually valuable to me, as far as a big job, and the comments that the homeowner are making indicate that it's very likely that they're going to actually do the project that they have in mind. Some of the leads I'm quickly clear are low priority, and of course the majority are somewhere in between. Um, I know I had another thought that I skipped over. Ah, I have received in hundreds of leads several that in which the homeowners already had blueprints and they just wanted to find a contractor to build whatever they had a blueprint for. Um, I did have that happen recently. It's happening more often recently as I've kind of shifted what I'm doing in terms of how I market, but I don't have a whole lot of those. Mostly it's people who need design services, who need to talk to an estimator and say, is this legal? Is this within my existing budget, or do I need to get a loan in order to do that? Or, just early stages of the process. They need an initial consultation. Some of them already know that some of them have already done research and know that they can get a permit, and they're ready to go right into the design stage and hire someone. Um, so let's see. As might be expected with online inquiries, quite a few of the homeowners, as I was just saying, don't already know what a realistic budget would be for their idea and are just researching costs. Among those, several have hired one of my contractors quickly, like they still work out in some cases. Some of them hired one of my affiliates several months later or a few months later. And of course, many of those did not work out. They hired some other contractor or elected not to do the project, or at least postpone it, over the, say maybe next year. And I do follow up with people, or I've tried to. I directly will follow up with homeowners to find out what the status is. And sometimes that's been very beneficial for me. That's worked out very well in a couple cases, because I did start this in 2016, or maybe very end of 2015 anyway. So I'm evolving with what I'm doing. A couple final notes. Could I use financial backers? Of course, sure I could. However, even if that happened, I would still be very interested in the recruiting of well-qualified contractors in dozens of states where I currently have no contractors. That's still a key need in the next stages of expansion of this business. And could I hire more staff to increase the volume and quality of leads? Yes, and I've already started experimenting with that. However, training new people takes my time away from other tasks, like finding new contractors that I like. And so generating a much higher volume of leads is not a short-term priority for me. Simply not a top priority at this time. At some point, I'm definitely planning to do that. But the cart before the horse analogy comes to mind. Well-qualified contractors in some of the areas where I know from my research that there's a lot of remodeling and construction activity, a lot of searches online. I know how to target, I know how to find out what's happening where, and I know how to target specific areas with my marketing. I do entirely organic search engine marketing, meaning no pay-per-click, all people searching on Bing or Yahoo or Google. And that's the basics of what I'm doing. And so maybe there are some questions that you have at this point, but I'm guessing that probably just a few, that this has been pretty informative. And I'd love to talk with people who are intrigued by what I've said so far and think that they could be a good match for this. Thank you for your interest.